ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bengals, Steelers, AFC North family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, whoo-wee, that's some good old-fashioned family business. Damn, what did we just watch? We signed up for some old AFC North slobber knocker football, and we got ourselves an old-fashioned OK Corral shootout. Bang, bang, 6-shooter. I do need to point this out. Every time the Steelers and Bengals play each other in Cincinnati, this shit happens. A fight breaks out. And it turns into this crazy game. Remember Russ last year went there and beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals in like a 44-38 shootout, some shit like that. This is what happens in Cincinnati when these two teams get together. I just can't explain it. I don't know why I didn't think about it. This is why I always tell you, if it's not your family business, stay out of it. Because you forget about these things. Bengals fans know that. Steelers fans know that. Ravens fans probably know that. Browns fans probably know about how these games go. Joe Flacco turned the clock back. The two oldie but goodie quarterbacks went out there throwing a football all around the yard. 7 combined touchdowns between the two 40-somethings. I think Flacco's 40-something, right? It's got to be close to it if he's not already. Hell of a performance by these two quarterbacks. Jamar Chase, 20 targets tonight. Flacco just got there 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago. 20 targets? Unreal. The Steelers really squandered a golden opportunity to wrap the division up. And this isn't hyperbole. If they go to 5-1 with a division win over both the Browns and the Bengals, the two closest teams to them in the division, with the Ravens sitting at 1-5, you go to 5-1 with a 2-0 record in the division, and the next closest team in the division you've already beaten, and they would drop to then 2-4 on the season, or 2-5, excuse me. You've won the division already. The closest team in the division to you is 2-5, and you're 5-1. Unless you have an epic meltdown, the division's over. And instead, all you did was you put the battery in Joe Burrow's back tonight to try and get back as soon as he possibly can. Because it felt like Joe was getting to the point where I'll just see these dudes next year. Like, by the time I come back, it's a moot point. We're 4-9, season's done, whatever. This win tonight puts them squarely back in the conversation. They right now have the best AFC North record at 2-0. Steelers are now 1-1 despite having the best overall record. The Bengals now have the best record in the division at 2-0. And so this is a big win. It keeps them afloat, keeps them relevant. It stops everybody in that locker room from saying, here we go again. Season's done. No Joe. We're cooked. It gives them life. For the Steelers, it's a massive missed opportunity. Let's start with the victors. To the victors go the spoils. Bengals get the win 33-31 over the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight in a fantastic football game. My gosh, this was a fun one to watch. It started out with the Bengals going down the field, and you could kind of see, like, are they going to put up a fight tonight? Like, I never thought they were winning the game. I never thought they were winning the game until Rodgers hit Pat Freiermuth with about 2:30 left, and I said that was too much time left. Way too much time left. With the way Flacco is dealing and cooking, I said that's way too much time. They're going down and they're getting in the field goal range for Evan McPherson, and they're going to win this game 33-31. And I said the reverse, like, hey, make sure you guys don't go down there. When T. Higgins caught that ball and he slid, that was the smartest thing he could have done, because I said you don't go down there too fast and give Aaron Rodgers a shot with the way they're moving the football in the second half. So Flacco had it stuck on automatic tonight, whether it was chasing. We got to look at some of these numbers, man. I mean, this was a wild game. These boys were wild tonight. They were wilding out. Flacco, 31 of 47, 342, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Chase Brown, they couldn't run the ball all year long. Chase Brown, 11 carries, 108 yards. He was killing them tonight on the ground. Jamar Chase had 23 targets for 16 catches for 161 yards and a touchdown on 23 targets. That's just pure insanity. T. Higgins, 6 catches, 96 yards and a touch on 10 targets. So between Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, 33 of the 47 Joe Flacco passes went to the top 2 targets. This is what you're paying them for, right? This is why you spent all that money on these receivers, so that it doesn't matter who's at quarterback, whomever's there is supposed to be able to do exactly what Joe Flacco did tonight. And if you're a Bengals fan, you're probably saying, if we'd have traded for Joe Flacco sooner, which you could have signed Joe Flacco. He was available in the offseason. You could have signed him. If you had Joe Flacco sooner, you probably wouldn't be sitting here at 3-4 now. Who knows? You could be 4-2, right? You could be, or 4-3, excuse me, 5-2. Who knows what the ceiling could have been, despite Joe Flacco being out of the lineup. Jake Browning was absolute garbage can juice. And there were games in there. Minnesota could have been a win. I don't know if you were going to beat Denver, but Denver wasn't super, effective in that game early. That game was there in the balance. They took over late. Who knows if Flacco's there, what could have gone on and what could have transpired. But wow, this was amazing. And the defense still sucks. I mean, the defense got torched for 127 from Jaylen Warren on the ground. Jaylen Warren didn't have a game this season where he rushed for more than 50 yards. And tonight he had 127 yards. So both teams struggled to run the football coming in, and their running backs both exceeded what we expected from them going into the game. But offensively, this was a hell of a showing by the Green Bay Packers, or excuse me, by the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm thinking about the last team they played against. It's amazing that they were able to do the things that they did tonight. I am shocked at just how effective they were tonight. Joe Flacco stood back there. At one point, we asked ourselves, is TJ Watt even on the field? Now, he ultimately got to Flacco late in the game along with Cam Hayward, but they neutralized the pass rush. Flacco had time to get rid of the football. Credit Cincinnati for getting the ball out of his hands quickly for most of the night. But then when he had to have time to push the ball down the field, and I think the first possession, they had a 3rd and 18, and they went to T. Higgins. And I think that was like a foreshadowing of things to come, that it was going to be a tough night for this Steelers secondary. And I talked about the struggles of this Steelers secondary, but I just didn't think that Joe Flacco, and look, I had them scoring 10 points tonight. Like, I did not see this outburst coming because Flacco hadn't been there long enough. And while the Steelers aren't tremendous on defense, the contrary. I've said that I don't think they're that good. I really don't think the Steelers are a good football team. Like, they don't scare me. As I shouldn't say they're not a good football team. I don't think they are worthy of being like, I think they were like the number 2 seed in the AFC if the playoffs were to start, after week 6 or whatever. Obviously, they had a bye week, so they played one less game. But you look at their schedule, you look at who they beat, and I think I brought this up earlier. They haven't really played anybody. So they could be had. I just didn't think Cincinnati was the team that could do that to them with their current situation. But wow, to run the ball the way that they did tonight, to have Flacco play the way that he did tonight, to kind of have everything go the way that it went tonight, and for them to play at the level that they played at, I'm going to be honest with you, I did not see that coming at all. And it really felt like the team with the ball last, not that Hail Mary shit that we saw from Green Bay. Not that Hail Mary shit. Wow, the Packers on my brain, not that Hail Mary shit we saw from Pittsburgh at the end. Like the last true possession of the game, it felt like that was the team that was going to win the game. The team that had the football last, and that was Cincinnati, basically. And I want to see what their schedule looks like moving forward. See what the Bengals schedule looks like. See if they really can get back into this thing. They got the Jets next. Then they got the Bears. Then they play these Steelers again. Then they got they literally can get to where Joe Flacco is back. They literally can get to where Joe Flacco is back. Like, they're going to beat the the Jets. They're going to get back to 500 on the season. Then you get the Bears. I don't think the Bears are a good football team either, right? We'll see what the Bears look like by the time we get to November. But they could get hot here, win 3 straight, get to 5-4. You see these Steelers again. That's going to be a tough task to go on the road and sweep these boys. But anything's possible. And if you can somehow come out of that stretch, if you get to the end of November and you're 5-5, and you get to that Thanksgiving night game against the Ravens, who knows if Lamar Jackson's playing or what's going on by then. I would assume he'll be back, but who knows if the Ravens are a mess by then. But let's say you get to that Ravens game and you lose that game to Baltimore. Let's say Lamar's back. The Ravens are trying to get hot, like similar to what Cincinnati did last year, and try to make a late season push. And let's say you're 5-6 heading into December. That first game against the Bills, Sunday, December 7th. Let's say Flacco's or Burrow's ready to come back. If you're 5-6, Burrow is definitely coming back. He's definitely coming back, and he's definitely chasing after a playoff berth. Flacco is just what he did tonight, what he did at the end of that Green Bay game, and it really spilled over into tonight's contest. What he did against Green Bay in the second half, and then what he ultimately did here is he is instilled confidence in this team that didn't exist. Didn't exist 2 weeks ago with Jake Browning. They have hope now. And look, Flacco is fully capable of doing what he did tonight. He did it when he was in Indy last year, the year before that. And he's also capable of having a stinker next week against the Jets and they lose and the Jets get their first win. That's Joe Flacco in a nutshell. Like, expect the unexpected. But we've seen him with the Browns 2 years ago take them to the playoffs. We know Flacco is capable of taking a team that has some talent and steadying the ship and winning some football games. He did it with the Browns 2 years ago, took them to the playoffs. So we know he's fully capable. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if Joe Flacco comes in here, steadies the ship, and we look up and the Bengals are 5-4 after starting the season 2-4 and looking like they were left for dead with Jake Browning as their starting quarterback. I would not be shocked if Flacco gets these boys rolling, run off 3 straight, and put themselves in a position to have Joe Flacco come back with a chance to make the playoffs. And that's scary. That's scary for any team in the AFC because Flacco is the kryptonite for Patrick Mahomes. He's the one guy that consistently, regular season, postseason, he's the one guy that Mahomes just doesn't know how to beat or can't figure out. Even last year, the win that Kansas City got, that should have been a loss. That was 4th and 13, and they needed a pass interference penalty to bail them out to get that win. Burrow was about to beat them again. So they don't want them in the playoffs. They didn't want them in the playoffs last year. And I get it. Kansas City was resting their players. It wasn't necessarily about making sure we keep Joe Burrow and the Bengals out of the playoffs. But that was also part of the motivation of not playing their starters. I mean, it's one thing to not play your starters. It's another thing to go out there and lose like 48-0 or whatever that score was against Denver in the final game of the season last year. Like, they absolutely didn't try. Because they didn't want the Bengals in the playoffs. They knew exactly what they were doing. It's the one team that could beat them, and they knew it. I mean, not that Buffalo or Baltimore weren't capable, but they know Burrow is fully capable. So this Bengals team is dangerous. Defensively, they didn't have Trey Hendrickson tonight, but they still got a lot of issues defensively. You know what's interesting? If you're Cincinnati and now someone like myself on the outside looking in, I wonder if this changes, because we heard a lot of chatter about would Trey Hendrickson be available, Cam Taylor-Britt might still be available. And, I don't think they anticipate re-signing him, and he's on the last year of his rookie contract. And so he could be a deadline deal, for someone. But I wonder if Flacco's emergence and him potentially steadying the ship, does that change their perspective on them being, not necessarily buyers, but definitely being sellers? Because it felt like Cincinnati would be a seller, and that Trey Hendrickson, it could turn into a fire sale, Trey Hendrickson, Cam Taylor-Britt, a bunch of other guys that could potentially be available, could be had for a team that might have been looking for a little bit of help. And now all of a sudden, they might be squarely in the mix, not just in the AFC as a wild card. They could be back in the mix as a division winner. I mean, the Steelers lost tonight, and they could have easily have lost to Minnesota. They should have lost to New England. This is not a good Steelers team. This team in Pittsburgh is just like all the other Mike Tomlin teams. They'll win 9 or 10 games. They'll sneak in the back door of the playoffs, and they'll get bounced in wild card weekend. That's what it feels like. They don't feel any different. They don't feel any different with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. And tonight and week 1 are the only 2 weeks that they've looked explosive on offense. Well, they had those games last year with Russell Wilson, where I just talked about the game against Cincinnati last year, where Russ went crazy. They scored like 44 points and they won on the road in Cincinnati. They've done this before. But we know it's a facade. It's a mirage. They're more like the team we watched last week against Cleveland. They did enough. It's sloppy. It's nasty, but it's still a football. They find a way to win. But you look at all the other games that they've played, and they could easily be sitting here at 3-3 or even 2-4. If the Patriots don't fumble and turn it over inside the 5-yard line, 2 fumbles or a fumble going into the end zone and an interception in the end zone, and they turned it over 5 times, did the Patriots. If they don't turn it over, they beat the Steelers in that game. If the Vikings don't make some mistakes in that game, they beat the Steelers in that game over in London. I think it was in Ireland, excuse me. So Cincinnati could be right back in the mix in this division. I mean, tonight's result is good for a team like Baltimore. They're not out of this. If they come off the bye week and Lamar's healthy and they can get hot, they're not out of this thing yet. So the Steelers definitely opened up the entire division to everyone except for Cleveland. They're a mess. But this thing is wide open now. This thing is wide open now. And Cincinnati's right in the thick of it. Big win for them. It restores hope. Chase Brown came to life tonight. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins showed this is why we get paid the big bucks. How about Noah Fant showing up big tonight? Touchdown grab and making his presence felt with a couple of big catches tonight. In the absence of Mike Gesicki, who's now been placed on IR. So you're going to need Noah Fant to step up. That was huge. That was huge. So if they could get the run game going, and it was probably just an aberration tonight. And shout out to the Bengals fans for showing up and showing out, making it a whiteout. Anytime they, wear the whites with the white helmets, it's clean, man. It's clean. And they definitely did the damn thing tonight. So shout out to the Bengals fans for holding it down. And it's a big win. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers on the flip side of this thing, yikes. What a missed opportunity tonight was. You could have been 5-1, sitting pretty. Again, the next closest team in the division is at 2-4, and that's the Cleveland Browns are 2-4, correct? No, they've won one game. So you would have been sitting pretty. The Bengals would have been at 2-5, and they would have been the closest team to you in the division, having lost to you already, and the next closest team 3 games back, and you have the tiebreaker over them with a win in their building. Like, this division would have been essentially sewn up 7 weeks in. You had the shovel. You had already dug the hole. All you had to do was roll 3 bodies into the grave and then throw the dirt on top of them. And instead, you didn't finish the job. Instead, you just left the shovel inside the dirt and walked away. Someone's going to end up in that grave, and it may be you. And it really started tonight with the inability to get off the field on third downs. I'm anxious to actually, I don't want to, you know what? I'm going to leave that alone. No, I'm not going to leave it alone. I'm going to look it up on my other device, because I'm anxious to see what felt like the Bengals converted on most of their third downs. They also had a 4th down conversion on the quarterback sneak. Felt like they converted on a lot of third downs, though. Yeah, the Bengals, both teams were highly efficient on third downs. The Steelers were 7 of 10 on third downs. The Bengals were 7 of 14, and then they were 1 of 1 on 4th down. So you have 470 yards of total offense. And I remember I was having a conversation with Boss Man, my dad, and I was talking to him about the Steelers defense, and I'm like, it's not good. Like, usually I can rely on the Steelers to get pressure. TJ Watt's not getting pressure on the quarterback. Cam Hayward's not getting pressure on the quarterback. Nate Herbig isn't like terrorizing, opposing team quarterback. Highsmith, it seems like he's not been himself this year. Like, they're not getting to the quarterback. And so you're then, for whatever reason, Tomlin loves old-ass curmudgeon corners, right? He never, they got Porter. But to me, he is the pass interference king. Like, he gets away with more hugging, tugging, loving, holding than any other corner in the league. Then you got Darius Slay out there, and you have Jalen Ramsey, 2 of the older corners in the league. And it's not a good look for them. And they gave up everything tonight, including the deep one to T. Higgins late to pretty much put them in chip shot field goal range and be able to ice the clock, where Ramsey didn't know where the football was. I've said this already. Ramsey's best football is long behind him, but I think he's one of the few former elite corners that could make the transition to NFL safety and be a damn good one. I think he has the chops for it. He hits, he's physical, he's got ball skills, but his cornerback days, his best cornerback days are long behind him. So I think there's a decision to be made there. But this Steelers defense isn't good. It's crazy because you can move the ball on this defense. And their secondary, it leaves a lot to be desired. And that's where I thought the problem started tonight. You had the Bengals right where you wanted them on the opening possession. It's like 3rd and 14. and you give up 18 to T. Higgins. And from that point on, it felt like, okay, it's on. And Flacco took him down the field after that. And you said, they're in a fight now. You know, you had a chance to get off the field. You didn't take advantage of it. You're in a fight now. And Rodgers threw 2 interceptions tonight. One of them probably wasn't his fault. Although I didn't think the ball placement was the best on that one, where DK had to kind of reach behind him to catch it, and then it was taken from him by damn, I can't think of the corner from Michigan. But he took that shit right from his ass. I think Rodgers kind of set him up there because he also took a shot. Ball was a little bit behind him. But the first interception was just like a YOLO ball. Like, what are you doing, bro? And I was shocked that they couldn't get the requisite stops that they needed to give the offense a chance to, like, take the lead. It was tit for tat, basically. Every time the Steelers would score, because let's just say they were down 2 scores. They were pretty much down 2 scores for after halftime. I think they were down 1 score at half, like 17-10 or something like that. And then the Bengals got the ball again in the second half, and it felt like they scored again, took a 2-score lead. Let me check and see. Let me like double check. Feels like they had a 2-score lead basically after halftime. And after that, it felt like, yeah, it was 17-10 at halftime. Then they got a field goal to make it 20-10. Then the Steelers scored a touchdown to make it 20-17. Then the Bengals scored a touchdown to make it 27-17. Then the Steelers scored a touchdown to make it 27-24. And then the Bengals scored a field goal to make it 30-24. Then the Steelers scored the touchdown to go up 31-30. And then they got the field goal with 7 seconds left to win the game 33-31. So they never got that stop that they needed to give the Steelers a chance to either like take the lead or add to the lead. When they finally took the lead 31-30 was the only time they had, and they couldn't get the stop there, right? So every time once they went up 20-10, they were up 2 scores. They never got the ball back with a chance until it was 31-24. By that time, you're getting into the territory of, if we get that one stop, now you're just looking to try to run out the clock and win the game, take knees in victory formation. But they just never got that chance. And that's a credit to Cincinnati's offense. But it's also telling that the Steelers defensively couldn't get that one stop. They could not get that one stop all night. And that's what they are supposed to be, they pride themselves on, is finding a way defensively. And they couldn't do it tonight. You wasted a Jaylen Warren effort where he eclipses 120 yards rushing. The man didn't have a game this season where he rushed for more than 50 yards. You wasted a 120-yard rush effort from Jaylen Warren. You wasted a really good performance from Aaron Rodgers despite the 2 interceptions. This is a Steelers team that doesn't score a ton of points. They put up 31 tonight, and it's not enough. That's really disappointing if you're Mike Tomlin. You've got to be frustrated with the way that this game went down and the fact that you couldn't get the stop that you needed defensively. So if you're the Steelers, this one stings because you've just made things a lot tougher. Let's see what the Steelers' schedule looks like moving forward. Let's see what they've got going on here. We know that the Bengals have a very advantageous schedule coming up. Steelers just blew a golden opportunity, and their shit is tough. I'm going to go on record and say, by the time these two teams meet again in mid-November, which is 4 games from now, that game will be for first place in the division because the Steelers would have lost 2 out of their next 3. And they'll be sitting there at 5-4. The Bengals will be 5-4 at that game. And that game will be for first place in the AFC West or AFC North, excuse me. I'm going to go out on them. They got the Packers next on Sunday Night Football. They're at home, but it's the Packers on Sunday Night Football. Then they are home for the Colts the following week. I think that's the one that they're going to win. They're at the Chargers on a Sunday night, early November. And then the Bengals game. I think they're going to beat the Colts, lose to the Packers, lose to the Chargers, but beat the Colts. And they could easily lose the game to the Colts at home. Easily lose that game. So the Steelers could be in some trouble. Steelers could be in some trouble. And as I say that, they could easily go home next week, Sunday Night Football, flip the switch, beat the Packers. All is forgiven. All is forgiven. But this is a tough one. This is a tough, bitter pill to swallow here. Squandered some really good offensive performances tonight. Defense left a lot to be desired. Gave up well over 400 yards of total offense. Gave up 50% on third downs. The Steelers were 70%. I mean, you went 70% on third downs tonight at 7 of 10. 70% on third downs. Let me check to see what the red zone efficiency was for both teams. Three of 4 in the red zone. The Bengals were 2 of 5. That's probably what kept you alive in this game. But ultimately, you're 3 of 4 in the red zone. You had 396 yards of total offense, so almost 400 yards of total offense. And you had 7 of 10 efficiency on third downs. You scored 31 points, but you get murdered in time of possession, and you give up 470 yards of total offense, 5 trips to the red zone, 7 of 14 on third downs you give up, and 1 of 1 on fourth downs. You give up combined over 200 yards of offense alone to just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you lose the game. This is on the defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This loss is on the defense's shoulders. They did not get it done. They did not give their team a chance. And that's really disappointing. For a Bengals team, and I get it, Joe Flacco's here now. It's a little bit different. But for a Bengals team that had struggled to score this season, the Bengals totals this season, 17, 31, 10, 3, 24, and 18. So they hadn't scored 30 or more points since week 2. And that was with Joe Burrow. That was with Joe Burrow. He missed probably half of that game. Jake Browning came in, got it done against Jacksonville, but they hadn't scored 30 or more since. 10 in week 3 against Minnesota, 3 against the Broncos the following week. Last week, they were able to find a way to score 24 against the Lions, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. Last week, they were able to score 18, just 18 against Green Bay's defense. And you give up 33 to the Bengals. It's tough. It's tough sledding. So let's get to the skill game brought to you by Sleeper, and then we'll come back on the other side, get to any comments that may be out there. If there aren't any, we will get out of here.
The skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
All right, so Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the world with over 6 million active users back in 2023. I imagine that number has ballooned and blossomed to almost double figures because of people like myself and you out there. And if you don't have the app, here's a great opportunity for you to do it and get it. Down in the description of this video and every single video that I do, there's a link that you will find that will take you to where you can download the Sleeper app. After you've done that, Use my promo code LTN to get you 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. That's right, a dollar for dollar match. You put in 50, they're going to give you an additional 50. You put in 75, they're going to give you an additional 75. You put in 100, they're going to give you an additional 100 to spend. And as you've seen, and if you haven't, what you will learn if you continue to follow me here, it doesn't take much to win money on this app. And it's safe and fast withdrawals. It's the easiest withdrawal process I've ever encountered on any app, right? The same way you put the money in is the same way you get it out. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to try to get your money out of some of these apps, not the Sleeper app. This thing is fantastic, and it's so easy to use. The interface is so easy to navigate. You can get to everything you need by one click. And so let's do that. I had some picks tonight. They weren't good. They were actually really bad, and I felt so good about them too. That's the bad part, is that these picks turned out to be really bad. Got T. Higgins on sale, right? And that was an easy one. He almost had these yards on the first possession. He had the 18-yard catch. He had another little 7-yard catch. So he almost had this easy. I should have taken Jamar Chase's yards in this game or catches, but again, that's hindsight. I didn't expect them to be this dynamic and explosive. I told you I thought they were going to score 10 points tonight. So I can't sit here and second guess myself and beat myself up. I did what I thought I needed to do. Warren on the receiving yards, I knew, again, we talked about the check down kings. It wasn't no check downs in this game for the most part. So Jalen Warren had 31 yards receiving, so that hit. Figured it would. Chase had his anytime touchdown. Figured that would hit. Chase Brown, I should have gone with Chase Brown catches. Now, I still probably wouldn't have hit. And I looked at his catches. I think they had him at 3.5. That was too rich for my blood. He only had 2 catches, so it didn't matter. But they were throwing passes to him where it was a lose situation. Like literally, they're throwing swing passes to him, and there's no blocking. And I'm like, are you trying to kill my ticket? And they were. So he didn't hit the 16.5 yards receiving. And I should have known because I used him earlier in the season against Denver, and he got it barely. And so I should have known this was going to be the night where he didn't get it. Kenneth Gainwell, I thought that there would be more passes underneath. Rodgers has made a living throwing to the back. This man had 6 catches each of the last 2 weeks. And then tonight, of course, he only has 2 catches. Why? Because it turned into a shootout, right? Turned into a shootout. So he only had 2 catches. So I missed on over 2.5. Samaje Perine, I told you what I needed to happen was I needed the Bengals to have the ball before the half, not the Steelers. And it ended up being the other way around. The Steelers had the football before the half, and then they turned it over, and it wasn't a lot of time left. So they couldn't, I needed the Bengals to get the ball with 1:41 left at their own 27-yard line so they could have time to dink and dunk it underneath and stuff like that, Samaje Perine. But they got the turnover from Rodgers, and it wasn't a lot of time left, like 40-something seconds left. And so they had to work the sidelines, and, you're going deep to Jamar Chase and all of that stuff. And so Perine never got the opportunity to catch the football tonight. But he did run it effectively, 7 carries, 31 yards. But and then DK, he had the big catch on the first drive. I'm like, he's definitely going to score tonight. He had a touchdown in every game this season. And I said this on the skill game. I said, tonight's the night that he doesn't have one, right? Everything that I said happened exactly in the reverse. And I literally said it. Like, I'll give you an example. I said, DK's had a touchdown every game this season. So tonight's the night he doesn't have one. And I left him alone, and I came back. I was like, oh, what the hell? Then I said, Evan McPherson, 1 field goal every game this season. Of course, tonight's the night Evan McPherson is going to make multiple field goals. Kicks like 4 field goals tonight, including the game winner. Of course, that's the way it was going to go tonight, right? This would have been the game to take both kickers. Both kickers. I believe the Steelers and Chris Boswell kicked multiple field goals. I know he kicked 1. I'm not sure if Boswell, how many touchdowns did the Steelers score tonight? I think he only kicked 1, so I'm glad I left that. I think they scored 4 touchdowns. Freiermuth caught 2. One of them was caught by Washington. All the tight ends ate tonight. Washington got 1. The first one that Rodgers threw tonight, I believe, was to Jonnu Smith, and then 2 to Freiermuth. So the tight ends ate good. Every single one of them touched pay dirt. There was only 1 field goal made. And I told you, that's why I'm staying away from Boswell, because I'm like, the Steelers are like feast or famine with field goals. Either Boswell is going to kick like 5 of them holes, or he's going to kick 1 or none, right? And so tonight was that night where he kicks one. I said, I'm leaving him alone, but I left McPherson alone. And I knew tonight was going to be the night that he kicked. But I said, they're going to score 10. And that's how I convinced myself not to go with him. They're only scoring 10. That's only one field goal. And that didn't happen. So, yeah, it was a rough night for the kid. I'm not going to lie to you. These Thursday nights have been kicking my ass. I've only had one really good ticket that should have cashed on Thursday night, and that was Arizona against the Seahawks. And I got screwed by a K9 touchdown that I needed, and they took him out the game, and they gave the touchdown to Zach Charbonnet, and that kicked my ass, or else I would have had that one. So, this one sucked. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I felt so good about this one going into it too, because the logic was great. But as somebody told me, expect the unexpected. I'm gonna start baking that into my tickets from now on. I'm just gonna bake one random ass thing into my ticket, and too much logic on my part. Too much logic. I overthink things, and it just don't work out for me. So I got to start thinking irrationally. Maybe that'll start to get me what I want. I don't know. That's just not how I'm wired. It's hard for me to wire my brain that way. But that's the skill game, brought to you by Sleeper. Make sure you download the app, use my promo code LTN to get you a 100% deposit match up to $100. And now, in the month of October, special offer. Download the app as a first-time user, get $20 free added to your account. Who's giving out free money? What are you waiting on? Download the Sleeper app and get active today.
The Skill Game, brought to you by Sleeper.
So let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, few things. Flacco been giving Pittsburgh hell for almost 20 years. Facts. That's part of the reason why Tomlin was not happy. He was back in the division like, bro, what are you doing? Because he knows, like, in Cleveland, Flacco is harmless, right? He's harmless in Cleveland because they ain't got shit. So nobody's worried about the Browns. Browns ain't shit. They ain't got shit. And right now I feel like they ain't going to never be shit. So he wasn't worried about Flacco. But you add Flacco to Cincinnati with all the weapons they got, he knows how talented Flacco is. He's like, bruh, really? You going to send him there in the division? You going to help them out? Says also, Cincy fans and organization understand how to do the shirt game and field colors. I brought that up on the show with the fellas tonight, the Commanders Kings. I talked about how their fans understood the assignment, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little jealous watching other fans adhere to the instructions and make it a real vibe. Because while the environment was great, the fans were loud, and wasn't the best conditions in terms of the weather, they still showed up and they showed out. They did all the things you want them to do from a participation standpoint, like audio, from an audio standpoint, right? From being loud and being engaged in the game. But I from a visual standpoint, like, I was really hoping to see the entire stadium just be a sea of black with a smatter of burgundy here and there, some Bears fans that infiltrated it, and some blue. But if it was like navy blue, it would just blend in with the black. And instead, when they panned around that stadium, I saw a smorgasbord of burgundy jerseys all over the place, white tops, and a lot of people wore black. Don't get me wrong, but not enough, not nearly enough. I'd say 30% of the crowd had burgundy on, which they just didn't follow directions. And aesthetically, I wanted that look that we saw tonight. It was a whiteout in Cincinnati tonight. I wanted that for us. But we're just not there yet. We don't have a fan base that's there yet. And I think somebody said this, and I don't recall who it was, but somebody said, we have a fan base that because of the whole name and all of that stuff, they will rebel just for the sake of rebelling. So instead of wearing black, now I'm gonna wear my Redskins jersey. F that. And that's bullshit. If that's your attitude, just keep your ass at home. Like, hey, who am I to tell somebody not to come to the game? But I want what I want. And I wanted the stadium to be in all black. And we didn't get that, obviously. But it was dope to see the Bengals do it. And they've done it before. So it wasn't new to them. So anyway, I digress. Let's see. Get to the comment section. John Wynn says, at least I like seeing Aaron Rodgers play better than Russell Wilson in a Steelers uniform. It looks better. It looks a lot better. I got to say that. Sheree says, who do you have more trust in from what you've seen so far, the Broncos or the Steelers? Oh, the Broncos, without question. I trust the Broncos. The Broncos have gone. The Broncos have a legitimate win under their belt. The Steelers don't have one signature win. The Broncos went on the road and beat the Philadelphia Eagles in their place. And I don't know what the season is going to become of for the Eagles. Like, they could spiral out of control. I doubt it. I think they're going to take those 10 days that they just had off after that thrashing at the hands of the Giants, and they're going to rebound from it. But they could easily spiral out. Like I said, this feels like 2023 to me, but that's a big win. Somebody had to do it. Nobody had done it until they did it. And they could easily, the Broncos could easily be undefeated right now. Remember, their 2 losses came in games in which they didn't trail in the fourth quarter. They lost those games at the gun. So they had the Indy game in the bag, and they had a penalty after the kick was missed by Schrader. And then they had the Chargers game, and they let the Chargers come back and walk them off. So this is a Broncos team that have been playing phenomenal football, and they just haven't been able to close the show. So I think Denver, highly dangerous football team, highly dangerous. I don't, and their defense is legit, by the way. They have a legitimate defense. The Steelers do not, as we saw tonight. They don't have a legitimate defense. The Patriots were walking the ball up and down the field on them and just kept turning it over. So we saw the Jets, and I get it, it's week 1. Anything can happen in week 1, but we saw a Jets team put up 30 plus on the Steelers in week 1, I think. If it wasn't 30 plus, it was close to it, and looked like a real NFL outfit. The Jets haven't looked like a real NFL team since week 1 against the Steelers. So I got way more trust in the Broncos. Way more trust. Sheree says, not all losses are created equal, but that was a horrible loss for Pittsburgh. It really was. That one stings because of what it meant, and what it could have meant. Right? What it means right now is that you've allowed the entire division, stands for Cleveland, back in the division, is what you've effectively done with that loss. Like, even Baltimore is not dead now. They could come off the bye, get hot, because you got some tough games coming up. We already talked about it. They could come off the bye, get hot, and get back into this thing. They haven't played the Steelers yet. So they sweep the Steelers, they get back into this thing, and you never know. But what you've effectively done is you've given hope to a team. You could have, in one fell swoop, distanced yourself from the entire division. You could have killed the Bengals and any hopes, dreams, desires to want to, get Flacco back on the field and feel like they had a shot to stay afloat in his absence. You could have did at 2-5, those boys were dead. Dead, I tell you. At 3-4, they got life. They got the Jets next. They got life. They're back to 500 after that. They got life. After that, they see the Bears. They could be 5-4. They got life. After that, they see you again if you're the Steelers. And who knows? I think that's going to be for first place in the division. I think both teams will be 5-4 going into that game, because I think the Steelers are going to lose 2 out of their next 3. As I already told you, I think both teams are going to be 5-4, and that game's going to be for first place in the division. That's what I think. That's what I think. I don't think the bye week for Cincinnati will have come yet. So they might be like either 6-4 or 5-5 going into that game. Whatever the case may be. I think that game's going to be for first place. That's what I think. So that was a tough loss. I agree. Not all losses are created equal. That was a fun game, though. That was a fun game. Rafael Del Luna, thank you for the comment, who writes, that last throw by Rodgers was crazy. Are you referring to the Hail Mary, or are you referring to the touchdown to Pat Fryer move? Which one are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the Hail Mary, no one's better at that than Aaron Rodgers. No one is better at, and if he would have just taken a fraction of a second longer before he heaved it, DK would have gotten down there and maybe had a shot to, go up there and try to go get it. But he didn't give him enough time to get down there. But Rodgers throws that beautiful Hail Mary that goes straight up and comes straight down. So, yeah. DJ23 writes, Jaden needs to go into Dallas like Kirk did into Seattle with nobody at receiver. Yeah. Different set of circumstances, but it was definitely one of those games that you didn't expect us to win, and we did go in there and win. That's a good pull by you. I think that was Kirk in 2017. That was 2017, Kirk. His last year. Josh Dotson diving catch. What was the name of the receiver that made that spinning catch? He got lit up, left the game with a concussion, but he caught it. He held on to it. What is his name? Ooh, you got me thinking. I can't think of his name. I swear it started with a B. I swear it started with a B. Can't think of it. But that was a really good catch by him. It would be nice. Jaden's capable. He is definitely capable. He is definitely capable. Rafael Del Luna says, is that the best primetime game of the year so far? No. The Dallas Green Bay game is the best game of the year primetime wise. You can't top a 40-40 tie with the peaks and valleys that game had. No way. We've had some really good ones, man. The primetime slate has been phenomenal. Remember, we had 49ers and Rams. That was outstanding overtime game. You had the Seahawks and the Cardinals was a really good game. You had the Cowboys and Packers, which is at the top of the pecking order right now. The first game of the season between the Cowboys and the Eagles was really good. The Bills and the Ravens, crazy, right? Remember that comeback? That was crazy. That was a really good game for those of you who stuck around and watched it from start to finish. So we've had some really good games, man. The primetime slate has been littered with really good games. Even the Bears and Commanders game was really good. I mean, didn't end well for us, but it ended up being a solid game to watch. This one, I think this was probably the second best game so far after Cowboys Packers. Oh, skipped one. John Wynn says, Commanders versus Seahawks. Are we playing for our playoff? It's too early to be playing for your playoff lives, but it's a big game. It'll be a big game when we get there, but we got so many games before then. Can't look too far ahead. Niners fan says, Lou, I'm going to Sunday Night Football. You think we can win? That Falcons defense is really good. All of a sudden, they're playing inspired football. They're playing much more confident. Of course you can win that game. Of course you can win that game. But this isn't the Falcons team from 3 weeks ago that got shut out by Carolina. Like, they're a different group now. So I'll tell you this. You're going to have to play a lot better defense than you did against Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because Drake London is on a heater right now. Bijan Robinson is like that. And Michael Penix, if you can get him off of his first read, you got a chance. If he gets comfortable back there and you just let him rip it, he's gonna light you up. Yeah, you guys can win that game though, for sure. Kevin the PRF, are there any of these last 3 Thursday night upsets still upsets if they took place on Sunday? Let me read that again and make sense of it. Are any of these last three Thursday night upsets still upsets if they took place on Sunday? Yeah. Of course they would be. That wouldn't change it, but would they have occurred is a different story. Like, do the Giants beat the Eagles on a normal week where Jalen Carter might be able to play instead of being out? All that good. Like, Thursday is tough. I can't say if that would have happened or not. Would the Rams have had more guys play? I mean, the 49ers were the team that was affected by it more than the Rams were. They the ones that had all the people out because it wasn't a normal work week. Yeah, they still would have been upsets. Yeah, Raphael says the Hail Mary. No, nobody does it better than Rodgers. Nobody has that thing better. Also, he says Jags Chiefs. Yes, that was also a really good game. That's a good pull. Absolutely, that was a really good game. So that's up there. That's probably, I would say that's probably number 3. I'd say that might even be number 2 because of how it ended with the Trevor Lawrence play. And it was such little time left when he did that. It was a little bit more climactic. This kind of, after the T. Higgins catch, this was anticlimactic. It's just now, can he make the field goal? Lawrence and Jacksonville needed a touchdown. The field goal wasn't going to do. So that one might be the second best game. We've had that. The fact that I forgot about that one tells you how many really good games we've had on primetime this year. We've had a really good slate of games thus far on primetime. No, it wasn't Capri Bibbs. It wasn't a running back. It was a receiver. It's Brian something. Brian Quick is his name. I told you it started with a B. I'm a bad boy. Brian Quick had the catch where he spun around, caught it, and got lit up. Got a concussion, had to lead the game, but it was a big catch. It was a big catch. It was right before the Josh Dotson diving catch. So anyway, I digress. All right, I'm about to get out of here. It's late. Big win for the Cincinnati Bengals. Wowzers. I did not see this coming. I said the score was going to be like 26-10. 26-10, something like that. Like 33-31 shootout. But again, what I did not take into consideration, and this is my fault, is that when these two teams get together in Cincinnati, it's usually a shootout. It was last year. I think it was the year before that. I'm actually interested. Let me go see. Let me go see. Last 5 Bengals, Steelers games. Let's see. So 33-31 to win tonight. 44-38. I think I told y'all that's what the score was. I knew it was something to that effect. That was a crazy one. And then we had a 37-30, but that one was in Pittsburgh. That was not in Cincinnati, but that was back in 2022. But that was a 37-31 game. So we've had some crazy games between these two teams where a lot of points have been scored. But the last 2 in Cincinnati have been wild. So I definitely thought that it would be a lower scoring game, and that was not the case. So shout out to Joe Flacco for going in there and giving this Bengals team something that they lacked since Joe Burrow's injury, and that's hope. He got them boys believing now we can stay afloat till Joe comes back. Flacco, Burrow, I'm referring to. he's got those boys feeling like we can do this. And for the Steelers, what a wasted opportunity. The offense plays one of their best games of the season, minus the Rodgers turnovers, obviously. But the offense plays one of its best games, 70% on third downs, almost 400 yards of total offense. They 3 of 4 in the red zone. They scored 31 points. The tight ends are getting busy. You waste a excellent rushing performance, the best probably of his career for Jaylen Warren, 120 some odd yards, and only to give up 470 yards of total offense and 33 points, and can't get a stop and let Joe Flacco shred you, give up over 250 yards of total offense to the 2 receivers. Like, you let the same 2 dudes eat you alive. Unreal. Bengals win 33-31. Steelers drop to 4-2. Bengals improve to 3-4. And all of a sudden, this division that seemed like it was slipping away and that the Steelers were putting a chokehold on, all of a sudden, it's up for grabs. It's up for grabs. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow. We'll have the skill game for the Sunday night game. We'll have the skill game for the Commanders game. We'll have a ton of different things going on tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. We'll be live here after the Sunday night game. Falcons, 49ers. Should be a good one there, as those are 2 teams playing really good football, even though the 49ers just lost to the Buccaneers, still playing some really good football. No shame in losing to Tampa Bay. They're red hot right now, despite them losing to the Eagles a couple of weeks ago. They're 5-1. So that should be a good game on Sunday Night Football. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys then. But until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a great rest of your night. Peace.